Breaking news. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I repeat, breaking news. The New York Knicks have now acquired Karl Anthony Towns in exchange for Julius Randle in a mega blockbuster trade that just happened. Shams reported it. And ladies and gentlemen, the NBA is on fire right now because the Big Apple just acquired another star. The New York Knicks are in contention to win the championship in 2025. And the big question is, can they actually do it? Obviously, the Knicks have been busting moves all summer. They went and they got OG Anunoby, or re-signed OG Anunoby. They went and they acquired Mikal Bridges. And now they bring in Karl Anthony Towns to go along with Julius Randle, or to go along with Jalen Brunson after a deep postseason run. And they are primed to make some noise this year. As you know, they got to deal with the big bad Celtics in the East, but it looks like they are ready to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with the Boston Celtics after they're fresh off a championship. Ladies and gentlemen, this is mega news. Mega news. I know a lot of people were questioning Julius Randle's fit in New York. Well, they don't have to do that anymore because he's gone. And now that's the Wolves' problem, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns and what this means for the New York Knicks. The championship odds for the Knicks have now moved from plus 900 to plus 750. And this is major for the Knicks. And what did the Knicks send back to the Wolves in exchange for Karl Anthony Towns? Well, obviously, Julius Randle will be going to the Wolves, along with Dante DiVincenzo, who was major for the Knicks in their postseason run last year, along with a first-round pick from the Detroit Pistons. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. Fireworks late at night tonight. If you're questioning why this move was made, to me, it makes sense for both teams roster-wise, but also it's a couple other things why it makes sense for both teams as well. Well, the New York Knicks, they just needed to bolster up their front court. They had Mitchell Robinson, but they needed somebody else who could play center as well. Big Ox is asking who was involved in this trade. Once again, it's Karl Anthony Towns. He was traded from the Wolves to the Knicks in exchange for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick from the Pistons. This is major news, y'all. Major news. But once again, the Knicks had questions in their front court, size issues. They only had Mitchell Robinson, and there were questions as who else was going to play center, who's going to be the backup, and how are they going to contend with other bigger teams. Well, now they got Karl Anthony Towns, another 7-footer who can slot minutes at the 5 and may potentially start at the 5. I'll get to the potential starting lineups for the Knicks and potential starting lineups for the Wolves. But those were the questions for the New York Knicks, just front court size issues. Those questions have now been taken care of with the acquisition of Karl Anthony Towns. And now for the Wolves, well, we do know that Cat and Rudy Gobert was kind of clunky at times. Also, Karl Anthony Towns was due $220 million over the next 4 years, which was just more than the Timberwolves could afford. So they needed to come off of that contract, and they were able to do that by moving him to the Knicks. Furthermore, the Wolves last postseason were 12.7 points worse per 100 possessions with Cat on the floor. So it just was not working with Karl Anthony Towns. Well, that's why they moved him on, and they're bringing in Julius Randle. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing in an expert right now within his own right. Chill, tell me talking about this, man. Chill. What's going on, man?
Bro, I was about to go to bed. I thought I was done for the night. Clearly, we not. No,
nah, not so fast.
Not so fast, brother. You're going to have to hang out for a little bit before you bounce.
Ooh-wee.
Oh, man. You're going to have to hang out before you bounce. So, Ron, I want to start the conversation with, I think, Julius Randle. I think he gives them a level of toughness that they didn't have.
I do too. And Dante DiVincenzo.
Yes, he gives them a level of toughness that they don't have, that they didn't have. Randle isn't much of a floor spacer. I won't argue that, right? He isn't much of a floor spacer, but DiVincenzo is. So now that means DiVincenzo, that means Naz Reid, that means Conley, that means Ant, that means Alexander Walker. These guys have to be more floor spacers. With these guys being more, of a floor spacer. Julius Randle is a willing passer. Ron, I already
Yeah.
told you the stat. In the 22-23 season, Julius Randle led the league in kickouts in the paint, driving to the basket. And the Knicks ended up converting 51% of them. That was good enough for numero uno last year. I mean, that year. Giannis was, but he was in front of Giannis. Giannis was second. So he will get off the peel. On top of that, him getting downhill and getting to the rim, people are worried about the lane being clogged with Rudy there. Well, the lane was clogged when Mitchell Robinson is there, and he didn't seem to have a problem. Plus, he's a glass cleaner. Is he the glass cleaner that Cat is? I don't think he's as good a rebounder as Cat is, but he's still a damn good rebounder, right? And I 100% confident that I heard him say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help this team. Ron, he's not getting traded to Charlotte, right? He's not getting traded to Portland. He's basically going to a very similar situation in Minnesota that he was going to when he was with the Knicks, where they were at the doorstep. So I still got to get on board with what's going on here. This isn't a situation where, I can just go, oh, this sucks. I got to move to Minnesota. They was just in the Western Conference Championship last year, right? So with that being said, I think that with Minnesota being the defensive team that they are, Julius Randle, a lot of us are looking at this like Minnesota is losing their best offensive player, which I'm not on the fence about this.
No way. I don't think nobody thinks that.
100. I 100% think that Cat is their best offensive player.
You think he's better than Ant?
I think he's their best offensive player. He's a better floor spacer. He's better in the mid-range. He's better on the box. I think he's better out of the double team. Anthony Edwards in between game isn't very good. He's not very good at the long ball line. He's great in transition, and he's a damn good one-on-one player. He still has a problem reading defenses. He's not very good in the pick and pop. He's not good in the short roll. So he still has a lot of things that he needs to clean up as a young player. Cat, on the other hand, is definitely more polished as an offensive player, and he gives them a different dynamic that they now don't have. So Julius Randle coming in, they're going to have to play different with Julius Randle. Then, unlike when they had Cat, they're going to have to play a little bit different because Cat's game was starting from the 15-foot line, moving out, and then moving back in. Julius Randle, on the other hand, his game is downhill.
Yep.
That's it. That's Julius Randle's game. So I don't think that they lose much defensively because I think that Julius Randle may be I think he's a better defensive player than Cat. But
I agree.
When I look at this unit, here's the difference. The same thing that you can say, the deficiencies that you can say about Julius Randle on Minnesota. Well, what's one of the knocks on Cat? He's soft.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you can't be. You can't be soft playing for Tibbs.
You can't be soft in New York, period.
At all, Ron. Whether it's in Brooklyn, whether it's with the Knicks, you cannot be soft. That's the knock on him. Now, he does give them a dynamic that they don't have. He gives them a floor spacer, right? He gives them a glass cleaner also, right? So he could be a better version of that. But them losing DiVincenzo, so now that means Josh Hart. Josh Hart is their primary long ball shooter coming off the bench. In addition to Miles, I think Josh Hart is their guy. So I think that the Knicks and Minnesota both pushed all their chips to the front of the table because they're trying to win it.
Yeah. A lot of people at face value will say that the Wolves lost the trade because they gave up what a lot of people believe is the better player. I don't think so. The Wolves got deeper and they addressed some other needs too. I'm not mad at Julius Randle playing next to Rudy Gobert. On top of that, just depending on how they do things, I don't believe Julius is going to come off the bench, but he may come off the bench. But he adds a level of versatility where you can play Julius 5 minutes next to Naz Reid. You can play Julius at the 4. You can play Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle. Now they can tinker with the lineup and they got more versatility in the front court, but also in the back court too. Chill. Hey, they perimeter defense just took 2 steps forward. You talking about Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jaden McDaniels
and Alexander Walker.
Hey, chill. That's scary.
Walker, 100%.
That's scary.
100%. And that's what I feel like. That's what their unit is going to be now predicated on even more. Like, so now when you add Julius Randle, who is a lesser offensive player than Cat, but I think more of a defensive player who can still pass, who can still score at the rim, and he may take some ill-advised shots. But I think that with him getting on this Minnesota team, I just think that there's a new leaf. Him understanding that this is probably my window. I think Julius Randle is 30 years old, 29 or 30 years old. So this is probably my window to win. I'm probably not going to get another window like this to win. I think he's better than Naz Reid. I don't think he's a lot better than Naz Reid, but I do think that he's better than Naz Reid all around. And I think that with him being on this crew, I think he gives them another level of toughness that they didn't have. I like this.
Chill, they got two very good players.
They did.
They got two potential starters. Two guys that can definitely start. Two guys that have playoff experience. Two guys that are veterans. Two guys that bring toughness, bring defense. I love the move. And on top of that, they got a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And I like I said, Ron, I don't hate it. I don't. And the reason why I don't hate it because I'm always all in. I'm always all in on teams that push all their chips to the front of the table when they're trying to win it. I'm all in on them. And Minnesota clearly looked at Cat like we're not winning it with him. Mm-hmm. We need to get tougher. That's our problem. We need to get tougher. Julius Randle has shown in the playoffs that he's not very good. He's shown us that. But with this unit, maybe that can change. Maybe that can change. And what you know what else I'm going to find out, Ron? I'm going to find out how good Anthony Edwards really is. That's what I'm going to find out. Because it's clear that moving off Cat, you know what y'all telling us? You know what y'all telling us? That's our man right there. This is we building our unit around.
But we knew this, though. We knew this, Chill. We knew this was Ant Squad.
I did. I felt like it was that way, but I didn't think that they would move off of him I didn't think they would move off of Cat as quick as they did. I thought that this was going to be a situation where they were going to try this out for a little bit longer. But it's obvious that they're looking at Ant like, okay, this is our guy. This is the direction that we're moving in, and it's time to move away from Cat. So, and don't forget, Cat is from Jersey, so that's that other added pressure of being at home, right? Being back at home and having to perform in front of your people and playing for the Knicks. That's a pressure cooker. That's a pressure cooker.
Tito El Bandito said, "How both teams get worse." So you think either of these teams got worse?
No, I don't. I don't think the Knicks got worse. Worse isn't worse. Worse is a bad word. I don't like that word. Maybe they did lose some things, but when I think about worse, I think about like your team is awful. Like they were already bad, now they got worse. No, these are damn good teams. They did lose some things, but they didn't get worse because they weren't already bad teams. No. I'm not trying to hear that.
I think both teams absolutely got better. Once again, I think the versatility and the depth that the Wolves got and the toughness, I think that makes them scary. And they're actually now my favorites in the West. And then the Knicks adding another player that can play the 5. And then they also got a little more versatile too, because Karl can play the 4. Or he could play the 5. He could play next to Mitchell Robinson. He just played with Rudy Gobert for the last 3 years. Or he can play the 4 and they could space the floor and play 5 out with OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson. That's major for the Knicks. That addresses their need. Chill. You were saying Robert Williams. You were throwing out a lot of names. You would throw out old boy from the Hornets.
Mark Williams.
Yeah, you would throw out Mark Williams. You threw out a lot of names. Does this still mean that they're in contention for another 5, or are they good now?
Well, they still need a backup 5. I do think that because I mean, knowing Tibbs, I mean, he's going to play Cat at some 5, and it's going to work, right? I do think that that's going to work. But what's going to end up happening is Mitchell Robinson could very well break down. Okay, who's gonna play behind him? Like, where's your insurance there? Because you can't just keep going small ball. That can't happen in the East, because then what you're going to do is you're going to run up on Philly. You're going to run up on Boston, who are bigger, right? You're going to run up on teams like Milwaukee, that's bigger. So you're not going to be able to play small ball against everybody. So you're going to need a backup 5. That's why I'm thinking pick up the telephone and call up Portland Trailblazers. Ron, they will
you still saying go get him?
They will hand over Robert Williams.
Still go get Rob?
They will hand him over for a bucket of extra crispy and a 6-pack. They'll hand him over, Ron. I'm telling you. 20 and you got him on the cheap, and you'll get him on the cheap. I don't think you'll have to give up a lot to get him. I don't. Call it the Trailblazers, check their temperature, see how they feel about Robert Williams.
Okay, Alan L is now saying Mavs in 4 now.
We gonna see,
man.
Yes, we are definitely gonna see.
I don't know if the Mavs want to see the Wolves right now. I really don't.
I just think that one of the things that this trade does is it just gives them a level of toughness that they didn't have. And you can no longer call the Minnesota Timberwolves soft, because Julius Randle is not trying to hear that. He is not. This could, and I'm glad I got you on here, Ron, because I was thinking about this. This could be a Jimmy Butler situation, except more coaxing. What I mean when I say that is not as detrimental. Like Jimmy Butler was going to ruin Cat. He was going to ruin Andrew Wiggins. I don't think Julius Randle would ruin Anthony Edwards. I don't think he'd ruin anybody on this crew, even though there was a situation where, Julius Randle could be a bad locker room guy. He already made it clear, yo, I'm down to do whatever it takes. And him going to this unit, which is basically a lateral move, which is basically a lateral move in terms of the unit. I feel like this unit here, he gives them a level of toughness that they didn't have.
Yeah, Minnesota got a team full of dogs. Like it or not, y'all might not like the floor spacing. Y'all might not like Julius Randle in general. Y'all might not think Dante DiVincenzo's that good, even though he proved a lot of us wrong in the playoffs last year. Yep. But I know one thing: they got a team full of dogs from top to bottom. Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Naz Reid. I just mentioned them. DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley's still a dog. They just drafted 2 dogs, Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr. And I haven't mentioned him yet. Y'all will say he's soft, but Rudy Gobert's a dog too. He's defensive player of the year. Biggest man on the court. He's not soft at all.
No, he isn't. He ain't Shaq. I'm sorry. He ain't Olajuwon. No, he ain't Joker. He's not that good, but he ain't soft neither. No, he is not. He gets roughed up, but he gives it back. Yes, he does. So, no.
Chill, so I got to ask you, because I think it's 2 potential starting lineups for both teams. But I got to ask, opening night, what starting lineup do you think that the Knicks roll out?
Well, they lose DiVincenzo because he was going to be a rotation guard. So now you got Brunson at the 1, Mikal at the 2, OG at the 3, Cat at the 4, Mitchell Robinson at the 5. That's your starting lineup, and you got Josh Hart coming off the bench. You got Miles Bridges coming. You got Miles McBride coming off the bench. You got Precious coming off the bench. They got a 9-10 man rotation.
And what about the Wolves?
So the Wolves, same logic. You still stick with Conley at the 1. You got Ann at the 2. You got Jaden at the 3. You got Randle at the 4, and you got Rudy at the 5. And you got Alexander Walker coming off the bench. You got Naz Reid coming off the bench. You got Dillingham coming off the bench. You got Shannon, who I think they stole him in the draft, Ron.
Yeah.
I think they absolutely stole him. So I love this. I do. I like what I'm seeing here.
Yo, Swiper.
Man, I just got out of a Maxwell concert. And,
you ended up going?
I was vibing. It was a great concert. We was having a ball. I'm not gonna lie, Chill. Pretty Things was on. Let me tell you how big the news was, Ron. Pretty Things was on. I'm over here getting it, and I see a cat trade on my phone. I said, "Cat for where?" I said, "For Julius Bum." Oh, get him out of New York. Oh my God. No, Ron. And then Chill, because he's my brother, he texted me. I was like, "Bro, I seen it." And I'm like, and Chill is over here gassing up this Julius Randle to Minnesota move. Yo, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert is a awful front court. Awful front court, Chill.
Is it? And let me ask you a question, Swiper. Is it worse than Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson?
Yes.
You think so?
You know why? Because they had Jalen Brunson. That's what made it work. They ain't got Jalen Brunson is not in Minnesota. Right. No, they don't got the playmaking. Anthony Edwards can't pass. You've seen this before. I'm not. Now obviously I'm gassing that. He can pass a little bit, but he's not the passer Jalen Brunson is.
Right, but here's the difference though. Swiper. The difference is that Julius is actually a good passer, and with Julius being a better passer, like I told Ron earlier, guys like DiVincenzo are going to be able to stretch the floor more. Conley is going to be able to stretch the floor more. Naz Reid is going to be able to stretch the floor more.
Where are you getting this from? Why would So the fundamental thing is Karl Anthony Towns is the best long-range shooting big this side of Dirk. And the reason why remember, their offense was horrible most of the year, and it was bad in the clutch most of the year. Yep. The only reason they passed by the second round in the playoffs is because Karl Anthony Towns became their main offensive engine in the second half of Game 7. And on top of that, he got the punch early in Game 2, in Game 1. So So if you're existing in a world where now you're relying on Julius, who's not as good of a floor spacer, not as good of a mid-range shooter, and honestly, Chill, he's also a worse decision maker. And I don't think that's even like a hot take. I think we can all agree that Julius Randle has not, over the course of his career, been a good decision maker. I'm not saying he's Cat. Like Cat's not like elite at it, but Cat's just a better player for what you're trying to do in a playoff setting than Julius Randle, when his primary function is going to be more of a ball-stopping isolation post-wing player. That's not what Cat does. And when Cat does ISO, he's more efficient than Julius Randle because he's a more natural shooter, and he has more tween to his bag to get to the rim. So I think this, for me, Chill, the Boston matchup with the New York Knicks is like must-see TV. Karl Anthony Towns versus Kristaps Porzingis, Chill.
Yes. That's
going to be must-see TV for me. And on top of that, I like Josh Hart going into the starting lineup.
No, that's Bridges. Bridges is going to start at the 2, and OG is going to start at the 3. But
no, I'm saying, well, who's starting at the 4? You think Cat starting at the 4?
Cat goes back to the 4. That's his natural position. That's actually his natural position, the 4. But back to your point, like you just talked about with tweens getting to the rim. I'm sure you noticed, Swiper, but Cat led the league in charges. Cat is a bull in the china shop. He runs guys over. Julius Randle on the other hand, will pass out of the paint. Not only will he pass out of the paint, he'll make the correct pass out of the paint. He led the league in 22-23 in passes out of the paint for long balls. And they converted on 51% of them. So he'll get off the basketball and he'll defend.
But you know the floor is going to be more congested with Julius Randle on the court just by way of placement next to Rudy Gobert and next to Anthony Edwards. It's not going to be the same. They're going to get worse offensively.
Well, here's the difference with that, Swiper. Even if they got worse offensively, how much worse can they? I mean, they were an average team. I don't think they're a bottom 10 offensive team now. I don't think that. That's number one. Number two, with now DiVincenzo as one of their best as one of the better perimeter defenders on the Knicks, now he gets on this Minnesota team. I think he makes them even better as a perimeter defensive team.
But that's not the West. But you know the West is about your interior. Like, you can have POA defenders, that's cool. But I'm not gonna lie to you, that's not moving me in the West, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna screen you off because you're running into anybody you play, Chill, in the Western Conference, from Isaiah Hartenstein to Jokic, to Ivica Zubac, to Rudy Gobert, to Sabonis. They're all the best screeners in the league. So I have a counter for that. And even if you want to congest the court, well, most of us, we have more than one floor spacer on our roster. Right here.
And excuse me. And even though you do have more than one floor spacer on your roster, I'm thinking about what this does for the Knicks. Because now the Knicks, I think that the Knicks already have a level of toughness, but losing Julius Randle and losing that distributor, because if you remember last year when the season started, Julius Randle was their better distributor. It wasn't Jalen Brunson. It became Jalen Brunson later on. But
Julius Randle was never a better passer than Brunson, though.
Here's the difference. I don't think that we give Julius Randle enough credit for the distributor that he is, getting downhill. That's a big deal when at 6'9", you creating shots for other people, getting to the rim. And let's not talk about Julius Randle like Julius Randle doesn't rebound.
Chill, you know they want to talk about Julius like he's trash. You know Julius isn't good. He sucks. He can't play basketball. He's just a bowling ball out there. He can't make layups. He's a black hole. He doesn't play defense. He's a left-handed he's just a left-handed bowling ball out there.
That's just not true. It's just not. I mean, he does do the other things. He does.
Swiper, you do know he doesn't have to play next to Rudy Gobert. You do know that he can play when Rudy Gobert's off the floor, and he can play with Cat or with Naz Reid. You do know they still got Naz Reid. They can play Naz Reid and Gobert.
He's still a functionally worse player than Cat, though. Like, I don't even know. Like, for me,
that part I don't think that's arguable, Swiper. To be honest with you, I said this to Ron before you showed up. I think Cat's their best offensive player. I said that, but I said that before you showed up. I think what he does, what Cat did for them, in terms of versatility, stretching the floor, being able to play in the mid-range, being able to play at the long ball line, being able to play on the block, being able to pass out of the double team, being able to slip screens and dive to the basket. I think he's their best offensive player all the way around. I don't think it's Ant. I don't think that the gap is huge, but I do think that he's their best offensive player. Now, with that being said, With Julius Randle, it's a different dynamic, and now they're going to have to play a little bit different because now you're so used to Cat being that floor spacer. Okay, now that goes to somebody else. Nas is going to have to be more of a floor spacer. Not only is Nas going to have to be more of a floor spacer.
Who are you taking off the court to compensate for that, though?
What do you mean? Who am I taking off the court? I'm moving Cat for Julius Randle, who is a better passer and who's a better passer getting downhill.
But Rudy's your most important player, and functionally, this is going to hamper Rudy. Julius is going to make life harder for Rudy offensively, and because at the end of the day, he's not coming off the court. He's not. He has to play.
And can we put Cat more because I think the thing you're concerned with, can we put Rudy more in the dunker spot? Because you already know how I feel about Rudy being able to be seen more around the rim. Not necessarily going to him on the block for one-on-ones. No, I'm not talking about that. But picking dives and lobs to the rim. I mean, Julius Randle can do that. I watched Evan Mobley do that. So I think he's better than Evan Mobley at that. So Julius Randle can do that. You can have that two-man game between those two guys. I won't argue that he is a functionally worse offensive player than Cat, but I don't think that they lose as much. There are things that they gain with Julius Randle. Plenty of things that they gain.
I do think it's clunky with Julius and Rudy, but they just dealt with that with Cat and Rudy too. We're not going to act like they weren't worse with Cat on the floor during this whole last postseason. Cat did not. Their best lineup was not with Cat. Their best lineup was with Cat on the bench.
That's not true. That's not true, Ron. Remember, Ron, he won them Game 7. Well,
he had a Game 7, but overall, in a full scope.
In the first round, he was good in the first round versus the Suns, and then he was his best series, I think, ever versus the Nuggets. I think he averaged like 20-something points a game on pretty good efficiency. I think he shot damn near like 50% from three, and including in the first round, he shot like 50% from three. So, and then his shot making down the stretch of the top of the second quarter to get them, and then in the top, and to keep them in realm of the game. Remember, Anthony Edwards fell apart in Game 7. It was Cat and Jaden McDaniels that got them that victory. So I think, if anything, what I'm hearing, y'all, let me ask y'all this right now. Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, that's their three best offensive players. You put Josh Hart around them, Mitchell Robinson around them, and then whatever, OG Anunoby. Yo, chill. I'm telling you, they about to be a problem.
I don't hate
that lineup is crazy.
I don't hate that.
That lineup is crazy.
Brunson at the 1, Bridges at the 2, OG at the 3, Cat at the 4, and Robinson at the 5. I do not hate that lineup. I think that's an awesome lineup.
Chill. Even when you move Cat to the 5 and throw in Josh Hart in that lineup, because I think that's probably how they're in the game. That lineup, that's a def lineup for your ass.
I still think that they need to get a backup 5, though. I do.
So you don't, if they don't get a backup 5, you don't like what Precious and what Jericho Sims can provide for him in spot minutes?
Sims is unplayable. Sims is 100% unplayable. He can't catch. He can't pass. Not only can he not pass, he can't defend at a high level. He's a super freak athlete. He does not understand the game at a high level, especially when we get into the meat and potatoes of games. As much as I like Sims as an athlete, I hate him as a basketball player. Hate him.
He's really behind on his development, but I'm telling you, Miles McBride. And again, I'm saying, man, you don't have to start Mitch. Like, that's gonna be the fun thing about what they can do. You want to start double big? They're 2 7-footers, and Cat, because of the way he functions, you can play him on the court with Mitchell Robinson. It doesn't take away from Mitchell Robinson. You got an elite floor spacer next to you. I think for me, chill. In my mind, Cat sets a down screen. He pops out on a curl, money. Like, I think there's so many ways they're going to be able to use Karl Anthony Towns in this lineup, and I think he's going to unlock Mikal. Mikal Bridges has been waiting for this since DeAndre Ayton. He hasn't had a big like this ever. So you think about Mikal's game next to him, pick and roll ball handler. You're thinking about OG with him. You're thinking about Josh Hart with him. You think about Brunson with him, Miles McBride with him. They're just going to be in Thibs. He's going to have a field day with Karl Anthony Towns. I just think overall they just lifted their ceiling. I don't know like if their floor changes, they're still going to be a 2 or 3 seed. They'll still win if they're healthy, 55, 56, 57 games if they're healthy. But it's the playoffs, their ceiling. I think their ceiling is just demonstrably higher now with Karl Anthony Towns.
You know, I gotta ask y'all: can the Knicks do it? Can they make it out the East?
No.
Is this enough?
Mm-hmm. I still think Boston's better. I do. I still think they're better. As good as the Knicks have gotten and what Cat brings to them, just from an offensive standpoint, his ability to stretch the defense. What ends up happening, what ends up happening is he basically does the same thing that Porzingis does. He plays at the free throw line. He causes mismatches. He plays at the long ball line. He causes mismatches. The question is, can those other guys make shots? The Celtics have proven that those other guys can make shots. They've proven that. That's the difference, and that's the difference with the New York Knicks and the Celtics. Can the Knicks make shots?
Yeah, well, they're shot making, but chill. When they were healthy, remember, like that's all they did. Now I think losing Dante hurts, but I mean honestly, chill. Do you agree? And Ron, do the Karl Anthony Towns better shot maker than Dante DiVincenzo?
Yes.
So and then on top of that,
yes.
And then on top of that, you get more size and skill and scoring. Yo, like that's incredible. What? I think we talked about this. I was proposing Karl Anthony Towns for Rudy. I told you I don't think that the Minnesota Timberwolves would do it. I don't know what. I mean, I think Tim Connelly has another move up his sleeve because I just functionally disagree with Chill that like I think this makes the Timberwolves a worse team. And on top of that, Chill, the other part of this, the whole reason why they were so formidable is because they had like the defense, the only defense in the league, mind you, that could really give the Nuggets real issue. Like that was their whole design, and now you replace, I think, a functionally worse defender in that scheme, and then offensively it takes their ceiling down. Man, I just think that the Wolves. I mean, again, maybe they're getting off the contract or something, and again, maybe there's an additional move they're looking at, which they very well could. But I just think that the Wolves they made themselves a worse product come playoff time. But again, that's my estimation.
All right. How does the loss of Dante DiVincenzo hurt them? They still have. I mean, they obviously have Miles McBride. They have Landry Shamet, and they have Cameron Payne. But how does this hurt their guard depth?
I think that with Miles McBride, not Miles McBride, I'm sorry, with Bridges. Okay, you got Bridges as a defender, you got OG as a versatile defender. You know how I feel about those two. I feel like they do pretty much the same thing. And then coming off the bench, you got Josh Hart. DiVincenzo gives them more of a floor spacer, more than a defender. I mean, as good a defender as he is, I think they're straight with their perimeter defense. With those three guys that I just mentioned, and OG and Bridges, and then having Josh Hart come off the bench, I think that they're good with their perimeter defense. I think that losing that floor spacer, that's gonna be one of the main cogs that could hurt them.
All right, y'all. Well,
who did they trade in the Mikal deal?
Bogdanovich, he went to Brooklyn.
Bojan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As y'all know, once again, Karl Anthony Towns is headed to the Knicks, and the Timberwolves have acquired Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick. This is major, y'all. This is PC breaking. Y'all make sure y'all like the video on the way out, subscribe, and we will be back on Monday on the panel to break down exactly what this trade means and talk more about it. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Chill, Swiper. Catch y'all soon.
We had to come through here, yo. We had to,
man.
like my man Swiper said. He was Swiper. I'm in my bed clothes. I was about to get in the bed. I was done for the night.
Hey, chill. Hey, chill, Ross. Stay on when we hang up.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Swiper. I'm finna get in these streets like you. I'm on my way. It's only 8:50 on the West Coast, baby. I'm finna get active.
Nah, it's early for you, bro. I already know.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you for pulling up. Like the video on the way out. We will catch you on the panel Monday. Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks. Wow.